Everyone, just a daily update on the closures we have today for SOL and Bitcoin and total market cap. Got to say, it's looking a little bit like everything is just on the edge of a knife, actually. This is something I looked at this morning, posted the video about. Very, very clean rejection there, definitely looking to come lower. So, that's already in play, so it's not one of today's closures, but it's already in play. SOL is looking, as far as its strength goes, it's looking to close in a position capable of breaking its 3-day uptrend against Bitcoin. So you might find it gets weak on the next candle or the one after, if it can get a blue candle in below this trend. So that's not looking ideal. And we're bouncing off the bottom of that range again. So we've been ping-ponging up and down inside here, which is kind of why alts have been strong, weak, basically stuck between two different range trends. So we appear to be ping-ponging back up towards the top again, which could mean for a bit of weakness. And that's just to give you an idea. That's the 6-month break level. It's one of the biggest levels that SOL actually has. Sort of got to be around for a few years before you're even going to have a level like that. But as you can see, some of the rejections it's had in the past. This was the Trump pump over here. So some of these levels that it's rejected in the past, or once it got over the top of it, how it created that lovely bounce. We're still hovering around on that, which is not a bad thing. But if we close under that in the next hour, it could be a little bit tricky. As far as where things are sitting, so the 2-day is still in rejection. It looks like it might close and create a hold level, which means it can try and break this trend. So there might be an initial bounce between these levels. So off the trend, back to the hold, back down again could definitely happen, or the other way, so down, then up, then down. But it's looking like it's trying to build the structure to break the support trends and have some form of continuation. We're creating a distribution range on the 3-day today, so that'll give us a break level. We've closed under the older historic break levels and hold levels over here from that rejection. We're still above the long-term trend, but we haven't broken it because we haven't actually created any kind of close there. So the positioning on the corner here indicates it's trying to open the next candle below the uptrend. And also this is, I haven't really done any videos on this, but there are concepts around the amount of times trends will be arrayed. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So effectively this has got 5 impulses to the upside, or strength moves to the upside where it hasn't returned to the trend and it's created a new trend. Once you get to 5 or 6, you tend to have some form of retracement. So it's it's due for it, and it's distributing, and it's on the trend. So it's looking like it's going to try and open on the side where it can use it to push down. The 5-day is literally sandwiched between 2 range breaks, neither of which are properly hard closed, so nothing stops that from dipping. And this is where there's a big ear gap in here. And this is going to be a hard close or a loss of this trend. It moves to there. Now it may bounce off that and give a temporary sort of push, but it's still got that resistance up here in the 200s. It's looking like it's going to break the trend. It could bounce, push, fall, or just fall, but it's not looking very good. Over here we have a non-hard close break level on the 6-day, and rejections off all the 6-day stuff. So the trend's above. We've got a range trend above 2, which it's rejecting off, so not ideal. And again, it could technically bounce up, down, more confluence in that 150 area. So that's there. Again, closure but not hard close on the 6-day. So same sort of thing could apply. It'll open the next candle on the other side. So these trends may not actually get broken, because if they go down and up fast enough, they could create an accumulation candle in the next 6 days, which actually means a non-break of the trend, but it gives it the opportunity to dump, at least for the next 6 days if they wanted it to. And now we're into things like 7-day where we're actually above unbroken trends, and we've got trend support. So maybe the next candle does a bit of a dive of it, bounces off one of the holds, and then goes back up. And we're retracing back underneath things like the 10 days, same sort of levels. So there's some levels around 168, 170, and then there's sort of levels around 150. So they're sort of your key areas to watch out for. The closure under 14-day will be a closure above trend but under break. So again, you get a bounce down to trend, up to break, down again, or up then down. So it's probably not, because some of these time frames are sort of in the middle. You might see a bounce after this, which could draw a few more longs in, and then down it goes. Or ultimately, we're going to go up. I think it's just, this is probably going to be the final sort of leverage flush before it happens. Once we get across the 15-day, same thing. We got trend support on the 15-day, but we're closing under the break. Probably going to come back to the trend, so that's in the 160s. We could dive the trend a bit, maybe hit the backside here. That's in the 150s. So we've got range trends coming through here to protect catastrophic failure. They're sort of in the 140 to 150s. Really bad news, maybe we go down to those, but and this trend's going to shift on close up to there. So you could see a pump up to that trend and then a dump, which is the same as what the 23-day did, and the motion it's going through at the moment. So maybe a bit of a relief up to here, again to the 200 and then down. That'd make sense. We want to actually go and hit these things and reject off them and then break them. We don't really want them to stay there if we want to go up soon. So what's going on there? Not too much to be drawn into this. This is going to be a trend break. It's going to be a shift of trend. It moves more resistance to the upside. It's the common theme is we're shifting some resistance to above us at the moment. Same thing on the 30-day. It's going to break here. It's going to move resistance to there. It's going to have a hold level at 156. If we hit that trend, we'll probably come back to the 150s. So you can probably see the way the bias is starting to form here. We should probably see lower, and then after we see lower, we can break higher, and then once we break higher, we're off. 168 hold level getting formed here on the 35-day, plus a shift of trend to the up, so a move between these points is going to come at some point. And we've still got plenty of trend support down here. We've got a range trend we can bounce off. We hit these range trends, we're going higher. We got to go down before we go up. 42-day move seems to have completed. It basically went from the range trend down here at about 100, and it's hit its target at 189. So these things can take a while to play out. It's got trend support through here. It's got a break level back here. Yeah. So again, if we go lower, we're going higher. It's not really. It's not like we don't have support. And as you start to get into some of this bigger stuff, not too much you can really make out of this, other than we're rejecting off these old break levels, and we're looking for trend support currently, which we'll find. So, and levels like this again, we already know we're going up here. We're just getting more confirmation because we now know we've got this trend here, and we now know we're going to close over it. And the last time we closed over it, as you can see, we bounced off it and went up and attacked the break. So we're going to close over it again. It's in the 150s. We hit it. We're probably going to attack the break. And we know we've got targets up there at that 147 mark. Bitcoin, it's basically walking its way to the 2-day cliff. As you can see, it's right there on the line. The next candle's going to open up on the other side of the line. We're still under the resistance. You might get a retest up into here, and then more confirmation of that 110 area. Now this is nice, because if we do go to the 110 area, based on I got that range trend, but there's a range trend in here we're stuck under on the 3-day, which is there. If we do get rejection here and we dive this trend and we go to the 110s, as long as we're not down there for more than 3 days, we come back up. So it's kind of confirmation that what's coming is probably going to be more of a liquidity grab than a change of trend. Same thing there. Yeah, we bounced off the trend support. This might close down just a little bit on that candle, which would actually create a hold level, which is what it's going to need if it wants to try and push through these trends. But same thing. We're looking at maybe a liquidity dive, and we've got that trend in there to reject off. Again, floating in thin air, basically, but we're looking at retests of trends. Everything that can support this is lower, and even if it spent another 6 days going up, the wick of the 6 day going up could just create a trend across the top. And if you had a trend across there and you made a candle up, pulled back a little bit, the next one hits it and goes down. So it is what it is. They're all sort of saying that there's probably a retrace coming, maybe with a little bit of a fake out into the newly moved resistance before it happens. So holding trend, getting close. If it was to close under this level here, closing under there creates a hold level, fight between the trend and the hold level, break the trend, go down, test the lower support, bounce. That's the same sort of thing. Same thing that can happen. The real precision way to do it is to close just below. If you close just below, you create the hold level, and then it becomes more of a trend dive than a physical breaker trend. If you come all the way down here, then the candle opens on the wrong side of the trend, and then it can change that trend and keep going down. But you can see the polarity around that level. They're just trying to hold it, and the chances are maybe you just get a very slight dip down, even $100 or whatever, just before close is enough to change the way structure behaves afterwards. That's basically where we're at with that. Floating in midair, below the trend, above the trend. If that candle closes down, it's a break of that trend. It then moves to the other trend. More confluence of what's play. That one's going to open on the other side of the trend, from the looks of it. So that gives us again time. If we go down and test this break, which really we need to test these break levels because we've gone through them and we haven't retested them, and if you don't retest a break level, it's just a ticking time bomb. So this one does show some areas maybe around 108. So, and I think it could be fair to say that if everyone's expecting 110, they're probably going to want to wipe out the high leverage that enters at 110. Here we are on the 15-day. We're going to open on the wrong side of the trend. So dump down, find support. Some of that support, that's been retested, so it probably doesn't need to go there. So we've got some range trends. I mean, some of these levels are quite low and quite scary, but I don't think it's going to go that far. Not on this time. There's too many medium time frames that exist that should send it back up before it goes that deep. And then even some of the bigger ones like this here. So we haven't retested this at 107. If we open the next candle, if we were to dive that trend, the inverse is here. That's 110. The retest of this would be 107. 107 could happen. And I think didn't mark it, but you've got that through there as well, which was at 110. I don't know whether we actually did touch that. We might have touched that. Yeah, we did touch that. So we haven't retested it since the close of this candle, but we did bounce off it to begin with. So sometimes bouncing is all it takes. It's when you've got a big gap between this candle and any level that you're asking for trouble, but a retest could still happen. Into the monthly stuff. If we were to close here, a retest of this trend makes sense. More confluence down around 113 or lower. Also a retest of this trend. 108, 109 sort of levels, or good old X marks the spot over here. 107. It probably doesn't need to go back to that. It could go back to that. And let's just hope it doesn't go back to that. That'd suck. But these levels like 86, you just write these down on a bit of paper. They're levels for bear market, really, I think, at this stage. I hope at this stage. COVID 5.0, 10.0, whatever we're up to. We're going to get a hold level here at about 106, which is good. Still have trend support. This trend, which is here, moves to there. That's indicative of we could pump to say even 125. We could head up here after we close this candle, and then come all the way back down to either this trend, which would probably be your 110 sort of area, your inverse, which is going to be something like this. There's your 110 for your inverse, or we're going to come down to the hold here at 106, which would flush out all those people who enter at 110. If we do come down to there, my guess is it'll be fast down up, because it'll be a dive of this support trend. So it really has to come back up. Although 35-day support trend, they have 35 days to come back up. So same thing here, a retest of trend. It's not a broken trend yet, but a retest of trend could definitely happen, or a retest of the inverse, which is probably going to be that same sort of 10 level. Got a break, structural break, retest, 107 through to anywhere in that sort of area in there. Trend out here, so linear support. Got a range in there, and all in that same area. There's another scary one. Just remember 93 for the future. Still have trend support. Nothing to send us there at this stage, but it's there. We've got some 3-month stuff that could send us there, but 3 months can take 4 times 3 months to play out. So that could be, again, bear market targets. Totals on a cliff, a short time frame, same sort of thing, rejecting off these levels up here, looking to come down. Well, everything else looking to come down, so you'd sort of expect the totals to look to come down. Going to lose that. Going to lose that internal trend there, so probably going to come down. But it is going to create a range trend, so that's one of those things that sort of says to me we might hit that, then retest something at a higher level, and then have the proper drop under the trends there. So they're going to open on the correct side to break them. If you then move up into resistance, there won't be the support, and that's how it drops. So this is going to create a hold level. It's shifting the trend from, I can't remember where that was. It was something back here, there, maybe. I don't actually remember where that was, but it shifts up there. And so once it closes here, it opens on the wrong side of the uptrend. Again, we could see that pump in the total and then the dump. Stuck in between 2 range trends sometimes. So again, that could go up then down, or down then up, but it's just stuck in between those. It's how dojis form. Yeah, and that one is basically saying that it should retrace. So when that trend gets created, so it's down there. This candle ain't the break because it's on it. This candle will be the break. If you break a trend, you typically push up. I would be, but we're going to push up into resistance. We've got an untouched break level there. We've got a trend here. I think this time frame sort of gives a pretty good idea that a push up into this is then going to create a dump down to probably retest this. So those are your totals. As for, are we going higher? Yes. The aim of the game is, I just don't think that they want you to be carrying big leverage positions up into the final tops, and there are plenty of things to point out that we're going higher. So the idea is just not to get wrecked before it happens. And I think the majority of people that are in the group that I live in, we're looking at things like SOL, and we're wondering, when is this thing going to take off? And I did that brief video about it yesterday, which was sort of all based on monthly stuff. But if we look at it on a weekly time frame, like what? Because let's say what 7-day candle needs to close. There's our 7-day untested range high in there, and then down in here somewhere there. Okay, there you go. And there's your parallel range. Now we've more or less just tapped that. Like, it wasn't quite a tap, but you're talking, there's a lot of displacements in price, over this many weeks. Displacements can exist in anything bigger than a single day. So like, if you've got that amount of single days in between here, they can be a little bit on, a little bit off. But as you can see, they can also be super accurate. Like, your entry there would have been the best entry you could get since the price came up and came back down. And likewise, when we lost it, we became this sort of resistance in here. There is a lot of volume down here. This basically looks like one ginormous deviation below the range to scoop up and to get everyone depressed and get them all out of the market and buy everything that was on the in their bags. And all it really takes is a week hard closed over here. And then you run into some of these. There's your 147, and we know we got that 147 target. You run into that 147 target, you get a week over that, and then you can be heading up here. So it's real and it can happen. So just keep an eye on it. You don't want to get caught on either side of, if we have a big leverage flush this week, you do not want to get caught on the wrong side of that. But at the same time, you also just don't get too scared if you start to see these levels going higher. You might be, if you can pick up a really good entry this week, you might actually be in a position to then watch it come up here, get above here, watch it come up here, get above here, and then TP up here somewhere. And I'll be updating you on all that stuff. So like and subscribe, like every single YouTuber says. I kind of want to get to 500 subscriptions because there's some advanced features and stuff that turn on inside YouTube, which would be quite cool. So see if we can get there, and I think we're about a fifth of the way there now. So yeah, share the videos around and see how it goes. But yeah, we'll catch up later.